It was the holiday season again, and, as usual, my family had been preparing for what we all assumed would be another loud, chaotic, wonderfully sentimental Christmas get-together. Ever since I was young, the holidays were defined by noise, warmth, and the beautiful disorder that comes with a house overflowing with kids. For as long as I can remember, Christmas at my parents' place had always been the event of the year, trimming the tree together. The comforting smell of my mom's legendary Christmas dinner drifting through every room, and the excited shrieks of my nieces and nephews racing around with their endless energy. I'd been counting down the days this time too. I already had the perfect present for my parents, a framed family portrait that I knew they would treasure, and I had spent weeks putting together matching outfits for the kids. There was something about my mom's annual fussing over decor and tiny details that made the holiday finally feel real, and this year I expected nothing different, or at least that's what I believed. Until one evening I got a message from my mom that instantly knocked everything off balance. It didn't carry the usual holiday cheer. It wasn't filled with emojis or exclamation points. It was short, blunt, and honestly a little startling. "Hey sweetie, just letting you know we're keeping it small this year. No grandkids for Christmas, just the adults please." At first I thought maybe she had typed something wrong or sent the message to the wrong person. No grandkids. The phrase echoed in my mind like something completely foreign. The kids, my sister's 3, my own 2, they were the heartbeat of the celebration. Christmas without them felt impossible. The house would be too still, too quiet, almost lonely. I stared at her words, trying to make sense of them. I texted back quickly, "What do you mean no grandkids is everything?" "Okay, why?" The reply came back, calm, almost oddly. "Calm. It's just too much this year. We decided we want to focus on adult time without the chaos. No grandkids this year. It's just what we've decided, hun." That was it, a final clear line. No kids, no wiggle room. I sat there, everything inside me sinking. I wanted to push back, to argue, to ask what on earth had changed, but what could I honestly say? I was a grown adult, and technically they didn't owe me an explanation. It wasn't my place to demand their holiday plans, but still something gnawed at me. Was there a hidden reason behind this sudden shift? I needed to talk to my sister if anyone would have answers. It was her. We'd always been aligned when it came to tradition. Our kids practically grew up celebrating in the same living room, wearing matching pajamas. The idea of them being left out felt wrong. I called her. The phone rang twice before she answered, cheerful and buzzing with the usual seasonal excitement. "Hey, you getting ready for Christmas?" I hesitated. "Actually, did you see Mom's text about the no kids thing?" Her voice changed just a touch. "Yeah, I got it. I'm not sure what that's about." I figured maybe she's just going through something and wants a quieter year. Who knows? Hearing her say that eased me a little. She didn't sound like she was hiding anything. But that didn't erase the uneasy feeling lingering in my chest. Why only our kids? Where did this come from? I wasn't the only one with little ones. My sister had 3, and they were just as much a part of the family chaos as mine. So I asked, "Are you still going?" She paused, then sighed. "Yeah, of course it's Mom and Dad. I'm going. Besides, maybe a calm Christmas won't be that bad. It might even be nice." That was reasonable on the surface, but deep down, I wondered, could a quiet Christmas really feel like Christmas without the kids' laughter, without the usual joyful mess that had defined the holiday all my life? The days before Christmas crawled by. I couldn't shake the worry that something about the situation was off. Maybe my parents were just exhausted. This year had been draining for everyone. The pandemic and everything that came after had taken a toll. Maybe they simply wanted a break. Maybe this wasn't as serious as it felt. But the uneasy gnawing in my gut wouldn't leave me alone. So even though part of me said to drop it, to just accept the holiday as it was, I couldn't. I made up my mind to show up anyway, to see with my own eyes. Maybe once I got there, things would make more sense. Maybe they'd realize how empty the house felt without the kids' energy and think twice about keeping them away. When Christmas Eve finally came, I gathered the gifts I'd bought for my parents and for the kids, and headed to their house, telling myself the whole way that maybe, just maybe, I was worried for nothing. To be fine, that I'd walk in, drop off my gifts, say my hellos, and pretend everything was just as it had always been. As I turned onto my parents' street, I saw the soft glow of Christmas lights flickering through the curtains, and I could already picture the warmth inside. Even before I stepped out of the car, the familiar smell of my mom's cooking drifted through the winter air, and for a moment my chest loosened just a little. It actually felt like Christmas again, like maybe I had overthought everything, but the second I walked through the door, the illusion cracked there. They were my sister's 3 kids, tearing through the house like tiny tornadoes, laughing, yelling, practically knocking over a pile of Christmas cards. My mom had carefully arranged on the counter. I froze, the cold air still clinging to my coat, my brain refusing to catch up to what my eyes were seeing. No grandkids. I had been told flat out no kids this year, But here they were, all three of them bouncing off the walls. Just like every other Christmas. I slowly turned toward the kitchen. Here my mom was stirring a pot that filled the whole house with the kind of smell that normally made me melt. Mom, I said, barely recognizing my own voice. What's happening? I thought you said no grandkids. This time she glanced over at me with the same warm smile she always wore, as if everything was perfectly normal. Oh, don't worry, honey, they're the exception. The word slammed into me. The exception, I repeated, almost laughing because it sounded so ridiculous. What are you talking about? My mom didn't even register the tightness in my tone. She just waved her hand like it was nothing. Well, they've been such good kids this year, we thought they deserved to be here. That's all. The more she talked, the less any of it made sense. A good behavior exception. Was this some kind of sick joke? My kids, who had been counting down the days to Christmas, were sitting at home while my sister's children got to sprint around the living room ignoring every so-called rule. It felt like I'd been slapped. Then my sister walked over, grinning with a glass of wine in her hand, like the entire situation was perfectly normal. Hey, you made it, she chirped, her voice way too bright. Come on in. It's kind of nice having a calmer Christmas, isn't it? I forced my mouth into something that resembled a smile. Yeah, sure. I glanced at her kids, who were now jumping from couch cushion to couch cushion. And then she said it, the thing that made everything click. You know, they're the exception, she said casually. Mom and Dad said it was fine. We figured the house could use a little extra joy. You know how they are with the grandkids. She shrugged like it was nothing, like the rule didn't apply to her because it never did. The pressure building in my chest felt like it might burst, and yet I stayed quiet. I didn't want to ruin the night for everyone, even though mine already felt ruined. I stood in the middle of the living room, surrounded by noise, and yet I had never felt so shut out. I watched my parents chatting happily with my sister, oblivious to the fact that their decision had punched a hole straight through me. It felt like I didn't belong there, like I had somehow become an outsider in my own family. I took a slow breath, trying to steady myself, and walked over to put the gifts on the table, my hands shaking slightly. I didn't have the energy to pretend anymore. I wanted to yell, to demand they explain themselves, but I knew it would only backfire, and I refused to be painted as the dramatic one, even though inside I felt like breaking as I turned to leave the room. My sister called after me with that sugary sweet voice that suddenly grated on my nerves. Hey, why don't you come sit with? It's been forever since we actually talked. I caught the smirk tugging at her lips. It was subtle, but it was there, like she knew exactly how this was hitting me, and she was enjoying it. I'm going to pass, I said quietly, my voice cold. I'm not really feeling up to it. She wasn't going to drop it, though. She followed me into the hallway, her tone snapping into something sharper. Come on, seriously. What is your issue? Mom and Dad are doing their best, don't start being dramatic. The word hit like a dart. Dramatic, I repeated, turning to face her. You really think that's what this is? You want to tell me why your kids get to run wild in here while mine had to stay home because they're not on the exception list? She blinked, surprised by the edge in my voice. It's not that deep, okay? She insisted they just wanted to switch things up this year. Don't turn it into more than it is. It is. No. I fired back, my voice rising with each word. It's exactly what it looks like. You're the favorite. Your kids get special treatment, and mine are left sitting at home missing everything. The air felt heavy suddenly, and the noise of the kids playing faded to a distant blur. My mom appeared in the hallway, drawn in by the raised voices. Her expression caught somewhere between concern and disbelief. What's going on? She asked, trying to insert calm into the tension. But I wasn't ready to be soothed. No, Mom, explained to me why your grandkids, her kids, get to be here while mine aren't allowed. I demanded, my heart pounding against my ribs. What changed? Mom's eyes widened. She clearly hadn't expected me to confront her like this. We just wanted to keep things simple this year, she said, quietly glancing from me to my sister like she might find help there. We thought it would be easier. Easier for who? I snapped. Easier for everyone except my own children. I guess it was like something inside me finally cracked. My sister's face twisted, the insult barely hidden. This isn't about you or your kids, she shot back. Why do you always make everything about yourself? Mom and Dad made a choice. We respected it. If you can't handle that, maybe you should go. Her words hit harder than she probably realized. My chest tightened, my temper flared, and yet somehow I felt like I was the one being punished, the one being blamed. You know what I said? My voice trembling with fury. Fine, I will leave since you've all decided I'm the problem. I grabbed my coat off the hook, ignoring my shaking hands, and walked toward the door. But my mom reached out, catching my arm. Wait, sweetheart, don't go. It's all just a misunderstanding, she pleaded. I pulled my arm free more forcefully than I intended. No, it's not a misunderstanding. It's betrayal. You made a choice, and it wasn't me or my children. My voice cracked and I felt tears threaten to break free, but I held them back barely. I turned to my sister, who now stood there with her arms crossed, a smug little smirk pulling at her mouth. "Enjoy being the exception," I said coldly. "I'm done," without another word. I stepped outside, slamming the door behind me. I didn't care about the wrapped gifts. Sitting on the table, I didn't care about the food or the lights or any of it. All I could think about was the sting of being dismissed, pushed aside, treated like my kids didn't matter. The wind cut cold against my face as I walked away, my emotions twisting together. Anger, hurt, disappointment, confusion. My fists were clenched so tight my nails dug into my palms, my mind racing, replaying every word, every look, every moment. How could they do this to me? How could they make me feel so small, so unimportant? The street was quiet, only the crunch of snow beneath my boots breaking the silence. My phone buzzed. I pulled it out. My mom had texted, "Honey, please come back, let's talk." I stared at the screen, my pulse thudding. Talk about what they'd already made their decision, and I wasn't part of it. The message felt empty, like she typed it because she felt she had to. Not because she actually understood. I didn't reply. I couldn't. I walked the rest of the way to my car, every step heavier than the last. My sister's voice replayed over and over in my mind, calling me dramatic, accusing me of blowing things out of proportion, as if this didn't cut me deeply, as if my kids didn't deserve better. Reaching the car, I yanked the door open and slid inside, slamming it shut like I needed a barrier to keep the hurt away. I turned the engine on, but instead of driving off, I just sat there gripping the steering wheel so hard my hands shook. The tears I'd been fighting finally stung behind my eyes. I rarely cried, but the night had been wrong from the moment I walked in. Nothing felt right. None of it. I replayed the scene. My sister's kids running wild, my mom's warm, dismissive smile, the casual cruelty of the exception. And then as I pulled away from the curb, my phone buzzed again. This time it was from my sister. "You seriously need to get over yourself. It's just Christmas. Stop being dramatic if you're going to act like this. Maybe it's better you stay away." Her words were knives-sharp, dismissive, twisted to make it seem like I was the unreasonable one, like I was the one who had caused all this pain. But I wasn't letting her rewrite what happened. I wasn't letting her turn this into my fault. I didn't respond. I focused on the road, hands locked around the wheel, my thoughts swirling, tightening, pressing in. All at once, I couldn't stop the thoughts from spiraling. How had things gotten this twisted between us? Me and my sister had always been close, or at least I had believed we were. But now it felt like something had cracked beyond repair. I turned onto my street and saw my house waiting for me, warm, inviting, everything. The place I'd just left wasn't. The contrast hit me hard, making the night feel even more final. I pulled into the driveway and sat there for a moment, just staring at my front door. This was supposed to be home, my safe space, the one place where everything made sense, but right now, it felt like the only place I could break down, feel the anger, the hurt, the confusion, without having to justify it to anyone. I grabbed my things and headed inside, shutting the door behind me with a soft thud. The stillness of the house wrapped around me like a blanket, but it couldn't ease the heaviness in my chest. I went straight to the living room and sank onto the couch, burying my face in my hands for a moment, just letting the storm inside me rage. My phone buzzed again. Another message from my sister. "I hope you realize what you're doing. You've made everything so awkward. Do you really want to ruin Christmas for everyone?" I almost laughed. It was that bitter kind of laugh that comes when you're so hurt you can't even hide it. She really didn't get it. She still thought this was about the holiday, about dinner and gifts and decorations. She didn't understand that something much bigger had broken tonight when I needed my family to show they cared about my kids as much as hers. They chose the opposite. They chose exclusion, they chose favoritism, and they acted like it was no big deal. I sat there feeling the weight of that truth settle deeper. My phone buzzed again. Another message. I didn't bother checking, because I already knew it would be another attempt to twist things around, to make me into the villain, to pretend I was the one ruining the night. The silence of the living room felt like it matched my heartbeat, uneven, a little hollow, full of questions that didn't have answers. I leaned back, trying to breathe through it, trying to steady myself. But the emotions kept bubbling up, the betrayal, the sting of being pushed aside, the hurt that felt too big to carry alone. I knew I needed to talk to someone who would actually listen, who wouldn't make me feel crazy. My mind went straight to Jess, my best friend. She always had a way of grounding me, giving me clarity when everything felt like it was spinning out of control. I scrolled to her name and hit call, tapping my fingers anxiously on the couch cushion while it rang when she answered. Just hearing her voice felt like the first real moment of relief all night. "Hey, you okay? You sound off," she said. Instantly catching the tension in my voice, I let out a shaky breath. I don't even know where to start. I said. Everything tumbled out at once. I went to my parents' house for Christmas, and at first it seemed fine, but then I saw my sister's kids just running around like they always do, and my parents didn't say a word. They told me no grandkids this year, but they let hers in anyway. They made an exception for them, but not for mine. My voice cracked, and before I could stop it, the tears finally spilled over. All the emotion I'd been trying to hold together just broke loose. They didn't even care, I whispered. They didn't even notice how much it hurt. It was like they had already chosen who mattered and who didn't. Jess was silent for a moment, but when she spoke, her voice was gentle but steady. That's really messed up. She said, seriously, I know I said, but I don't understand why. Why would they pick her kids over mine? I don't get it. I don't know, Jess replied thoughtfully. But honestly, it sounds like they've been letting your sister's kids get special treatment for so long, they don't even see how unfair it is anymore. They're so used to it, they've stopped noticing what it's doing to you. Her words hit deep. Maybe it wasn't some deliberate plan to hurt me. Maybe they had just slipped into a pattern, but that didn't make the pain any less real. But Jess wasn't finished. It's not just about the kids, she said softly. It's about the way they made you feel like you didn't matter. Like you weren't even part of the family tonight. I let out a slow breath. Yeah, exactly. That's exactly how it felt, like I was being pushed out. Jess paused and then asked the question I'd been avoiding. What are you going to do now? Are you going to let this go, or are you going to stand up for yourself and your kids? The question hit hard because I honestly didn't know. I don't want to start a war, I admitted, but I also don't want them thinking it's okay to treat us like this. Jess didn't hesitate. You don't have to let them walk all over you, she said firmly. You have every right to speak up, and so do your kids. They deserve to be treated like they matter too. I nodded, even though Jess couldn't see the gesture, feeling a faint rush of resolve push up through the exhaustion settling in my bones. Maybe this really was the moment to stop pretending everything was fine. Maybe it was finally time to claim the respect I should have had all along, but doubt crept in again, tightening around me. What if speaking up makes everything worse? I murmured. What if they all turn their backs on me? What if I lose them forever? You're not going to lose them, Jess said with a confidence I wished I felt. And honestly, if they're going to keep treating you like this, you need to take a stand before it gets even more damaging. You can't let them keep doing this. They need to understand you won't just sit there and take it. Her words sank deeper than I expected, settling like a heavy truth in my chest. I didn't want to lose my family. God, the thought alone hurt, but I couldn't keep letting myself be pushed aside like I didn't count. A line had to be drawn somewhere. Thank you, I whispered, my voice steadier than before. I needed someone to say that out loud. I just don't even know where to start. You'll figure it out, she said warmly. Just handle it one step at a time, and I'm right here if you need me. When we hung up, I felt a tiny shift inside me, a little space opening where all the pressure had been crushing me. I knew things wouldn't magically resolve, but I also knew I couldn't pretend anymore. Something had to change. The days after Christmas felt suffocating. Every message from my family was a silent reminder that they still weren't acknowledging what actually happened. My mom texted to ask if I was doing all right, but it came off hollow, like she was checking a box rather than taking responsibility for the hurt she played a part in. I couldn't shake the feeling that my sister had somehow come out victorious. Her kids were enjoying the holidays, basking in attention, while mine had been left on the sidelines like an afterthought. My parents had shown exactly where their loyalty rested, and it sure wasn't with me or my children. I drifted through those next few days consumed by frustration. Every time I imagined confronting my parents, I hesitated. Would it even matter? Would they listen? Could they ever really understand the damage they'd done? Or was this just the new reality I'd have to live with? Meanwhile, my sister only made things worse. Her messages grew increasingly sharp, disguised as concerned little reminders about how family should stick together. But underneath, the message was always clear. I'm right, you're wrong. I couldn't take the manipulative tone anymore. I was done pretending. So I called my mom. Mom, we need to talk about Christmas, I said, fighting to keep my voice calm. Oh, sweetheart, can't we just move past it? She replied instantly, too fast, too dismissive. It wasn't that serious. But it was serious. I tried to explain, to lay bare the way it cut me, but she kept brushing it off, minimizing every word until something inside me snapped. How do you not see this? I nearly yelled. How can you pretend it meant nothing? My kids deserve the same love as my sisters, but you showed me they don't have it. Silence lingered on the line. For a split second I thought she might finally get it, but then she sighed heavily and said, I'm not arguing about this. It's Christmas. Just let it go. Her words hit harder than anything my sister said. Let it go. As if I could erase the hurt by pretending it didn't exist. As if the solution was to swallow my feelings and fall back into place, I hung up feeling something break inside me. This wasn't a simple disagreement anymore. It was a wall. A wall I couldn't climb or break through no matter how hard I tried. Weeks passed. Then months. The silence between us grew thicker, heavier. My mom still sent the occasional text, but none of them touched the real issue. My dad didn't reach out at all. The resentment simmered, but beneath it was something worse, a sense of loss. Not just of the holiday, not just of fairness, but of my place in the family. Everything had shifted. I stopped going to family events. At first it was temporary, then it became permanent. I couldn't sit in that house pretending these wounds didn't exist. My sister, on the other hand, carried on like nothing had changed. She kept posting pictures of her kids with my parents, smiling, happy, cherished. I couldn't look without feeling the sting of exclusion all over again. Eventually, the truth settled in with painful clarity. This wasn't something a simple apology could fix. This wasn't a misunderstanding that could be papered over with empty promises. It was deeper. It was about where the love went, about who mattered, about who didn't. And I didn't know if forgiveness was even possible anymore. Months slipped by and I watched from the outside as my family continued on as though nothing had fractured. But I knew the break was real. And maybe, painfully, this was just the new reality. After everything, it's hard to determine who's truly to blame. Her pain was real and her feelings were absolutely justified. But cutting herself off completely, was that the right move? Was it the only option? Could she have handled it differently? Maybe, maybe not. It's easy to judge when you're not the one drowning in the emotions. Was she right to stand her ground, or did she go too far? What would you have done in her place?